to this episode of John's Motorcycle Rescue and Review. Today I am reviewing Suzuki's 1250S Bandit. The 1250 Bandit was really meant as a replacement for the 1200 Bandit. The 1200 Bandit had used a version of the GSXR 1100 motor that was an air oil cooled unit that actually debuted back in the mid 80s. This was a new from the ground up 1255cc motor. It has fuel injection. It's got a 6-speed transmission versus the Bandit's 5-speed. It has upgraded brakes. The chassis is all new. And so when you ride this and when you compare this to Suzuki's previous Bandit, it is really several steps up in quality compared to the old one. The suspension in particular is much better. It has adjustable spring rates in the front. It has adjustable spring rates in the back and adjustable damping. And the way the chassis geometry is set up, it gives you a very plush ride, and yet it's well controlled. Seating position is very roomy. I'm a tall guy, I'm 6'4". This bike fits me very well. It's a little bit of a lean to the handlebar, but this quarter fairing gives a good amount of wind protection, and so it's really a bike that for me is all day comfortable. This particular bike has a Two Brothers slip-on exhaust. It also has a K&N air filter and a Dynojet power commander, and those things work in concert to really help this bike run flawlessly. The motor in the 1250 Bandit is a 1255cc inline 4-cylinder. It is a 16-valve motor, liquid cooled, fuel injection, and it makes about 80 foot-pounds of torque, which is monstrous. And it also makes right around 100 horsepower, which really is deceptive because it makes it seem like 100 horsepower isn't that much. But on the road, what you realize is that torque is just available at any RPM, and it really gives this a unique flavor. I'm used to big bore bikes, and this thing is still surprising how quickly it picks up revs at any RPM. Instrumentation wise, the Bandit has a big analog tachometer. It also has a digital speedometer and a fuel gauge. And the only thing that I wouldn't mind seeing is a gear indicator on it. This bike is geared pretty tall. At 70 miles an hour, it is an indicated 3,700 RPM. So that gives it a very nice relaxed feel. It's got a very slick shifting 6-speed transmission. The brakes are actually 4 piston calipers on each side in the front, and that gives it significant stopping power. It has a single piston rear caliper on it, and it gives adequate performance, nothing groundbreaking there. The Bandit was available with ABS and without ABS. All right, enough talk. What is the Bandit like to ride? What is it like out on the road? How do those torque numbers and horsepower numbers, how does that translate to actually riding the bike? Well, I'm gonna gear up, I'll take the camera along. Let's find out together. Let's ride. And that gets up quick. currently riding Suzuki's 1250 Bandit, and this is a fairly recent purchase for me. I have just finished up servicing the bike and going over it, making sure everything is within spec and safe to ride, and I am impressed here. This is my first test drive. This is a tall, heavy bike, but out on the road it just does not feel like it. It turns in so nicely. One of the things I did was put a brand new front tire on it, and that has really improved the handling. And another thing I did was to tighten up the steering stem bearings, simply because they were loose when I got the bike. Seating position is very natural. It's a kind of a sporting standard seating position. There's a little bit of lean to the bars, but nothing uncomfortable. The engine is very smooth. The transmission shifts incredibly nicely. And when you ride this bike, one thing that stands out almost immediately is the amount of torque that is available from almost 0 RPM. This bike is making over 65 foot-pounds of torque at 2,500 RPM, and it just builds from there. And anything over 3,000 RPM, and it is making over 70 foot-pounds of torque. And that's just stout, and that just means anytime, like right now, if I just roll it on, it just has smooth, instant acceleration. Absolute horsepower on this Bandit 1250S is only about 100 horsepower. So it is not a shockingly powerful bike, horsepower-wise, but it doesn't need to be. With all of that torque, you always have power on tap. You always have instant acceleration, and you never need to wind this thing out all the way to the red line. And so you might as well just short shift and enjoy that torque again, because it makes it everywhere. And it's just so nice and easy and relaxing to ride because of the way it makes power. The handling on this bike too is really nice. It does not feel like budget suspension. It's very well controlled without being punishing. And the ease in the corner transitions is very surprising given the heft of the machine. Clutch pull is very light with the hydraulic clutch. That works very nicely. The brakes are not the sliding caliper type, they're the sliding piston type. And that's a bit of an upgrade over what you would expect on a bike of this price range. And this bike is really smooth. You can feel a little bit of vibration through the handlebars, but nothing that's annoying. And it's got a nice, relaxed 6th gear. This Bandit 1250 is very much in the flavor of the classic UJM, the Universal Japanese Motorcycle, and it's just a bike that'll do any type of riding well. I'm getting enough wind protection from the fairing. Right now I'm heading into a pretty strong headwind, and it's not overwhelming. There are taller windshields available for this bike if you did more touring, but it really is a comfortable, nice place to rack up some miles. And it has enough performance on tap that it's really a pleasure to ride. Man, after riding the 1250 Bandit I see why it's so popular in Europe. It really is a fantastic all-around machine. It's very easy to ride, it's very easy to live with. It always has insane power. It's just a hoot to ride. You can go quickly on this very easily. The weight on it really disappears after you're rolling, even 5 miles an hour. It transitions so easily from side to side. It handles very nicely. The suspension is so much better than the original 1200 Bandit, as are the brakes, and even the motor, the power delivery. Component-wise, this is also a huge step up from the previous Bandit. I would honestly say this is probably one of the most underrated bikes here in the US, and really a fantastic used bike value. This thing is just awesome. I look forward to putting some more miles on it. I'm going to do some comparisons with some of my other classic Suzuki UJMs and some of the other bikes that are currently in the garage. But I'm really impressed with this one. I think Suzuki did an outstanding job. And I think that the fairing and the ergonomics and everything work well together, and it does give a very good amount of wind protection. I would say styling wise, it's a little bit on the vanilla side. It's a little bit understated, maybe boring even, but besides that, I think it's a tremendously good package. All right, I'd love to know what you guys think. If any of you have owned the 1250 Bandit before and want to comment in the comment section below, please feel free to do so. As always, I hope you found this video entertaining and informative, and until next time, enjoy the ride.